Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. AITA for asking my sister and BIL to move out after 3 years of supporting them after family tragedy. It was roughly 3 years ago when my sister and her husband tragically lost their 3 young children in a dreadful car accident. My sister was close to not making it, but she did. They have 3 children, 2 daughters, aged 8 and 6, and a son 3 years old. As horrific as the incident and their deaths were, I will refrain from going into more detail. My sister and I are 10 months apart in age, but we have always been quite close growing up. I was living alone in a 3-bedroom home at the time of my nieces' and nephews' deaths, and I provided them with a place to stay while they grieved. They were both naturally unable to return to work, and we were all in desperate need of one another. After what had happened, I didn't want them to have to worry about money or losing their home as a consequence of what had happened. Since the events of September 11th happened, I've been there for them emotionally and financially. Their refusal to attend counseling has resulted in them both being jobless. However, my job is not simple to manage, and I had not anticipated that it would persist for this long a time. My current fiancé and I have been together for about a year and a half. We struck it off immediately away, and 6 months later we were planning our wedding. We're planning to be married in October of the following year. The fact that I want my house back in order to live with my fiancé has been conveyed to my sister, but she hasn't picked up on it. My fiancé has become even more enraged with me, alleging that I am being taken advantage of on a regular basis. Last weekend, I notified my sister that I needed to talk with her and that I wanted my house back, as well as the opportunity to live with my partner alone before marrying and starting a family. We were both furious and hurried to our mother, who called me an idiot for not considering how my sister would react to what had just happened. Despite the fact that it hasn't come up since, both my sister and father-in-law have stopped speaking to me. AITA, update. I'd want to express my gratitude to everyone for their kind words and messages that I've received over the last day. They've been very appreciated. My sister and I were having a talk last night, and it began off in the usual way, with her avoiding the subject. She didn't come, and we couldn't have an adult conversation. I told her that I would be forced to take legal action or sell the property, both of which were fictitious threats that worked. The woman cried, confessing to me that she knew she needed therapy, but didn't want to go through with it, and that she would go even if her husband didn't agree to it. Despite the fact that I haven't spoken to her much about leaving, her acknowledgement of the fact that she needs help is a huge step, and I'm not going to press for anything more just now. Thank you so much for all you've done to help. Story 2. AITA for not putting my boob away when I answered the door. I'm a single mother of 2 young children, one of whom is 18 months old and the other who is 3 weeks old, and both of whom are breast. The older kid may eat up to 5 or 6 times per day, but the newborn may feed every 2 to 3 hours, or even more often in extreme cases. Overall, my boobs are no longer mine, and anything that makes it harder to pull them out swiftly is no longer acceptable. As a result, I live in a braless tank top that is also quite loose. To get to the point, my toddler has been sick, and as a result, I've been completely weary. During a breastfeeding session with my infant son, I heard a tap on the door. I've been looking forward to seeing him, so I didn't hesitate to open the door, breasts out, and make a flaming mess of myself. Unfortunately, it was my former mother and sister-in-law who were the victims, not my friend, so shouted and made a huge show of turning away from her mother, who looked on disapprovingly. Inevitably, the toddler decides that now is the perfect time to start wailing, which disrupts an already distressed baby, who stops latching, and as a result my breast is on show to the rest of the world. I practically just leave them standing in the doorway while I get my men comfortable into their positions. I did my best not to breastfeed my toddler in front of them, but he refused, so it was essentially just me bringing them back out the door and locking the door so I could feed them both in privacy when they were done. Due to some unknown reason, they did not leave, and when my friend came, they walked in with her. No idea why I had the impression she was at the door in the first place, but a buddy happens to have a spare key. While I was relieved that baby was completed, I realized that toddler wouldn't be finished for a long time, so I accepted my fate. Despite the fact that Syl seemed nervous, I was expecting some kind of scolding for continuing to breastfeed my child, which I eventually got. You can always count on the military for support. My expectation was that she'd just go after she was through, but she made the terrible comment, When you're worrying yourself around like that, it's no wonder that X decided to leave you. The door might have been opened by anybody, and you're out in the open waving her around. My eyes welled up with tears at this point. Fortunately, my friend, who was upstairs putting the baby down, steps in and takes control of the situation. They are removed, and toddler is instructed to sleep in his bed, after which we watch movies and eat ice cream till the baby goes asleep. After believing that was the last of it, I checked my phone and saw a flurry of text from my ex, my own parents, and the other sister-in-law, among others. They're effectively berating me for providing food for my child, alleging that anybody may have seen my actions, perhaps it was someone else's child who didn't need to see that, and I might have distracted drivers and caused an accident. I'm starting to have doubts about myself, so my friend sent me here. Essentially, she's insinuating that I'm not in the wrong and seems to assume that you people would agree with her, and if you do, I plan to give your comments to my ex-husband and his family. As a result, you consider me to be a jerk for not concealing my breast behind my back before opening the door. Etta, thank you very much for your wonderful words. Thank you very much. I don't have time to respond to them all. I still have a sick kid, but I'm trying to read them all. Update. It's been a long since my previous post, and I just wanted to express my gratitude to everyone for their comments and suggestions. When it came to deciding where I needed support, several of you were quite helpful. I phoned my ex-husband shortly after publishing my essay and asked him if he wanted to have a part in our children's lives or not. In response to his denial, we engaged in a lengthy discussion regarding our respective feelings. We're on excellent terms right now, and he'll begin a new job in August, so we'll take care of business legally then for the sake of our peace of mind. Then I installed my Ring doorbell camera. I had one in storage but had never used it, and I've been much more selective about who I let in via my front door. I also called my parents one final time to notify them that I had lost contact with them, and I handed them a photo of my boys, which they seemed to like despite all that had happened. I had to shut myself apart from my siblings as well, but as much as I love them, I had to put myself and my children first. During our meeting, I informed my ex's family that if they ever set foot in my house again, I would call the police and that they would have no contact with my children. They do not have a father, and as a result they do not have a paternal family in the eyes of myself and my ex-husband. They were angry, but they were able to put it aside. And, just to make them feel worse, I nursed both of my children in the park, which was a wonderful experience. In other positive news, the friend I mentioned in my last story has decided to come in with us and join us. Initially, it was just for financial reasons, but something odd is happening between us. Even if it doesn't work out, I feel safer with a second person. My children have financial stability, and they have a second parent, which I think is something that all children need. After all legal issues have been handled, we want to migrate out of state after that. We were both putting money down for a down payment on our own house, and my ex ended up giving me the majority of the money we'd saved. In addition to inheriting his father's house, he does not want me and the kids to be constantly on the edge of being evicted from our current residence. We should be able to purchase a decent-sized house within a year of receiving both sets of funds. We've already made the decision to get a puppy. The objective is to get everything moved and set up by July 22nd, so that the boys may enjoy their first genuine summer in a yard that is big enough for them to play in. There will be a better life for my children than I had, and this is only the beginning of how good their lives will be. That's all there is to it. Once again, thank you so much to everyone.